Hey, welcome back to another video. Now today, we're finna be reacting. I'm tired of women whining. So this is my first experience with Pearl. So let's see how Pearl do. Subscribe, turn on post notifications, smash that like button. Y'all know what to do. I already know what to do. Let's get it, let's go. Let's hop right into it. No time to waste. Pierce Morgan, Pearl and Pierce Morgan. Let's see. Yeah, Pearl Davis. That's her name, Pearl Davis.
Well, joining me in the studio is socialist and author Grace Blakely and YouTube commentator Pearl Davis, both, I would imagine, identifying as provocateurs.
Of course.
Let's talk about this.
Of course.
First of all, Pearl, I just find the whole personal pronoun thing honestly absurd. My personal pronouns...
This old, because we've been talking about personal pronouns, but hey, you know, who cares? You know, y'all here, let's do the reaction.
My Twitter biography are now hottest, and frankly, if people don't call me those, then they have to be jailed. I go along.
Which one's Pearl? I won't pay attention at the beginning. Is the one on the left or the one on the right?
That. But I did that to highlight that when I do that and say that, people then accuse me of being ridiculous. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. Why do we need personal pronouns?
We don't need personal pronouns. I don't think it's kind to allow people to live in delusion.
Wait, are you
at the end of the day, we all know what a man and a woman is, okay? Just because you dress like a woman, talk like a woman, act like a woman, it does not make you a woman. And I am so tired of us allowing these people to let us live in delusion. It is delusional to think you are the opposite gender, and it is not kind.
I can't even go on offline British.
I did not expect her to start. I did not expect that. I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect that.
Right? My preferred A1, the wonderful A1. And there always used to be a lovely posh voice saying, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Britain." And I used to feel soothing, particularly if I came from another country back to Britain.
God.
Hi, I'm Bert.
Nope. We're not giving no advertisement like that. All right, skip.
Immediately at ease. My captain was there, sounding like he was, from some wonderful Pathé News bulletin, and he referred to us as ladies and gentlemen. That's now been banned. They're not allowed to say ladies and gentlemen because there might be one person on the plane who says, "Oh, whoa, hang on. I don't identify as a lady or a gentleman." Well, okay.
I know this may be a stupid question, but why is the English different between us and Britain? Why do they sound like this, and why do we sound like this? You know what I mean? Anybody ever thought about it, like why it's that way?
I don't care, but I do. So where's my right to be called a gentleman?
Grace? You know how I feel about this. I'm so bored of it all. I'm so bored of the fact that this is the one item that's constantly coming up over and over and over again. And you can completely see why, right? Conservative governments have destroyed our economy. We're in the middle of a massive climate crisis, just having the hottest week ever. I've just come over from Europe. It's extremely hot. And instead of talking about that, we spend hours and hours and hours talking about pronouns, talking about going into bathrooms, talking about...
She clearly not Pearl.
All of this stuff that just doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you see, it doesn't matter. Hang on. It doesn't matter to you.
I'm so bored.
It doesn't matter to you, but it does matter to women in sport. It does matter to women whose young daughters might be using these dressing rooms. It does matter to the victims of male rapists who see their attackers identify as women to get into women's prisons. Sorry.
I can't deny that, though. I do like how Pierce Morgan don't play sides.
They really do
Let's
matter.
have those issues aired in the appropriate, spaces.
We are.
In sports, have that discussion amongst sports people. But literally, it's about priorities, isn't it? There is a certain number of times that we have on these shows to discuss the issues that matter.
You don't think women's... Hang on, before we come to our...
I don't think women's sport matters as much as climate change. I think that having a planet in which we can play sport matters more than the rules.
Does women's equality matter?
I know that makes me probably absolutely
Does women's
insane.
equality matter to you?
Well, yeah, of course, but actually, the whole point that I was going to make on this segment actually is that you cannot separate feminism from class issues. If you're just going around saying I think the female CEO of a weapons manufacturer should be paid the same as a male CEO, and that's the hill I'm going to die on. I'm not fighting that fight with you, because ultimately, what I care about are the struggles that ordinary women face every day.
Well, let's come to the main point of the segment. which is...
See, that's why nobody respects the feminist movement to a degree, man. It's because of shit like that. What she just said. That's why people don't respect it. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all got to stand on something. Do y'all stand for women or do you not? Like,
this issue of women's rights to be paid the same as men in sport. Now, the Australian women's football team have criticised the pay gap in the upcoming World Cup prize money. Let's take a look at what they said as a team.
736 footballers have the honour of representing their country on the world's biggest stage, this tournament.
Yet many are still denied the basic right to organise and collectively bargain.
Collective bargaining has allowed us to ensure we now get the same conditions as the Socceroos, with one exception. FIFA will still only offer women 1/4 as much prize money as men for the same achievement.
Well, okay, this is interesting, Pearl, because if you look at the revenue, for example, in 2019, FIFA generated...
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Before he even goes into this, like, you know, sports is something that men invest in. We invest in sports. Like, we invest in our favorite teams. Like, we go get the jerseys. We go to the shows. We do all that shit, right? If you pay attention, women invest in makeup products, things like that. So if a woman started an aesthetic line, it will blow up. But in this area, like, women don't really invest in sports like that. So that's why sports don't make a lot of money for women. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, y'all just want fairness across the board. If it's not making enough money, they can't pay y'all. It's entertainment.
£586 million in total revenue. The men's, for the 2019-22 cycle, $5.8 billion. Record revenue through the Men's World Cup. So the women's game has come on in leaps and bounds. The English Lionesses, fantastic win, sell-out crowds, they're making a lot more money. They're definitely way, way further now towards where the men are commercially than they were, but they're still a way off. And when you saw at Wimbledon, for example, the men's final was watched by 3 times as many people, and yet they were both free to air on the BBC. You could watch both if you wanted to. So there was 3 times as much interest in the men's game. They play 2 sets more per match than the women do, and yet the women get equal pay. I'm not quite sure why. Yeah. I don't think it's a matter of equality.
That's
it's
a good
just a matter
point.
of fairness, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think all of the women should thank the men for funding our leagues, because most of our leagues would not exist without the men, number one. Number two, when we have the same numbers, then we should get the same pay. I'm sorry, I play volleyball at the highest level, and it's like, when we make what the men make and get the crowds that the men draw, then we should get paid the same.
Well, see, why is it actually a fight for equality, Grace? I mean,
y'all believe Pearl? Pearl seemed like she just saying shit to get men to fuck with her. That's what it seemed like. I don't know. Y'all already know them like them motherfuckers that be pandering to motherfuckers. Seem like she doing that right now. But I fuck with it though. Keep doing it. Get him, Pearl!
For example,
get him!
Generate more revenue, right? Because they were more watchable. And in America, the women's football team is better than the men, and they do generate, even at school level, far more interest from girls than boys, for example. I don't see why equality should be the aim. Why shouldn't they get paid more than the men?
Well, look, I mean, there are all sorts of problems with the way that this market for labour, and it is basically a market for labour, works. Like, I personally don't think that the top football players in the world should be paid as much as they do. I think it's ridiculous, the amount.
But that's market force.
Exactly, it's market forces.
Well, why shouldn't they get...
that be the way that we decide, you know, who generates what? Personally, I'm very much in favour of the fact that they came out there and said collective bargaining. Ultimately, like...
Or...
Damn it!
That's all I need. I'm 100%.
And they marketing the men.
The average worker in this country hasn't had a pay rise in over a decade. How is that going to change? That's going to change when they organise with one another.
I am so tired of women whining.
Mate,
it's
the only
like
person whining at the moment
the men, literally the men fund our leagues, and we will still whine that we don't get paid enough.
Facts.
And honestly, when athletes do shit like this, it makes all of us look bad.
Facts.
Because instead of being thankful
Get her,
for the
Pearl.
league that we have, we go out and whine and complain about the pay.
I mean, as I said, I'm not whining. You sound like you're maybe doing a better
I'm
job.
not whining.
Personally,
You are
I
whining.
should be whining. I think people should be organising.
Do you
If
think
you want a pay increase, join a union, get out there and fight for it.
Should the women footballers get the same as the men?
Yeah, I think it probably makes sense.
Even if they're not getting anything like the revenue?
Ultimately, like, it's not going to change. It's not going to change unless they...
Now, I'm going to be real. I don't know how that lingerie football didn't do good. Because I seen some asses out there and I was just like, God. I kind of did like watching it, but not for the sport though. Not for the sport though. Like you didn't like it for like them hitting. You didn't give a fuck about all that. You just wanted to see them go out there and get in the hype position, you know.
Nice. That's actually true across every sector of the economy.
How much?
If you want to pay rise, join a union.
Let me ask you this though. They have got unions. But
Exactly.
let me ask you this. On talent alone, for example, as a yardstick, the US women's football team were beaten by a group of under 15 boys from Texas, right? Who were very good under 15 boys, but their under 15 boys team beat them, I think, about 8-9-0 or something. So why should women footballers, who are clearly nowhere near as good as their male counterparts, just technically, why should they get paid anything like as much money?
Well, I mean, you know.
Did he say high schoolers? If they can't be high schoolers, they wouldn't even stand a chance in the NFL.
It sucks, doesn't it, that like as a woman, yeah, okay, you play volleyball. I'm a surfer. I absolutely love surfing. It's very hard for women to build up a body strength. This is something that I've learned very much the hard way. And so,
surfers, by the way, there is equal pay.
Yeah, there is, and actually, you know, it's one of those sports where
can a woman be as good as a man or not?
Well, it's different. It's a different sport, really. It's not, you know, it's the same sport, but it's very different watching a woman surf than it is watching a man surf because, you know, the average male body is different from the average woman, like woman's body for all these.
But is there any actual technical reason why a woman can't do with a surfboard what a man can do?
Yeah, there's loads of reasons. Like it's about the upper body strength. It's about like the way that the body is built.
So should women surfers at the elite level get the same as men?
But like again, I think it just is different. Like it's a different kind of game, and people watch it.
You're shaking your head.
No, I just think when we start making the same amount of money as the men, then we should get paid the same as the men. I don't hear the men whining about OnlyFans models getting paid more than them. I don't hear the men whining about models getting paid more than them. Kendall Jenner is the highest paid.
Speak on, girl. Speak on. I'm loving this. I'm fucking loving this.
Supermodel. Where are the male supermodels?
But
whenever men dominate an industry, women will just complain.
I mean, I don't know if that's true about OnlyFans, because there are a lot of men on OnlyFans as well. But I mean, look, the main point
you
here...
You think they make the same?
I have no idea, but like it maybe averaged out the number of men and women that are on that website. Anyway, look, the main point here, the point that I came on here that I wanted to make was that the problem that we have in our economy at the moment is not that like the average football player isn't paid the same as the average man. It is probably an injustice, and I'm glad that they're organising and working together to fight for that.
So what's the issue?
The problem we have in our economy is that nobody's getting paid enough money because inflation's eroded people's wages. Even before that, no one had a pay rise in a really long time. And the lesson from this is, as I've said, I'm going to say it again because it's an important lesson and no one knows about them anymore because they see them as a hangover from the 1970s. Join a union because otherwise your bosses are going to
but there are unions for all these. It's the unions that are fighting for them.
Exactly.
But just as a general point, though, the principle you think that women should get paid the same, even if they're not as technically as good and not producing as much revenue.
It's a subjective judgment, isn't it, on whether or not they're like technically as good?
Well, not really.
No, it's not.
Because people watch men and women sport for different reasons.
Well, let me give an example. An example would be the Olympics. If you made it non-gender specific, how many women would win medals?
Well, I mean...
None.
Okay.
I mean, maybe in equestrian and maybe in shooting, I think, are the two.
But again, I think...
Where there's no sense that the men might win.
You can say, like, oh, you know, this group is better than this group. But again, I think it's different.
Men are better than women at sports. Yes, let's not live in this delusion.
And in most cases, Grace, more people, men and women, want to watch men play sport.
Correct.
That's just a demonstrable fact. That may change. And my point is, if it changes, I don't see why equality should be the only ambition for the women. If it turns out that in some sport women get more viewers watching and therefore draw more revenue, I'm all for them getting more money than the men.
Can you...
This whole conversation is just like, if you really think about it, duh. It's just duh. Like
5 WNBA players.
No.
5 female soccer players.
I mean, I can't.
Now the WNBA is coming up though. It's coming up though. Like people starting to watch it.
Many soccer players
That's
already.
crazy. I wish we had the support from the feminists. We would get equal pay if we would just get the support from the feminists.
Well, let me tell you.
Name 5.
Let me tell you.
I don't know what the WNBA is.
We need our support.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, you really are.
But I do want to mention one thing, which is I had Dale Vince on the program. He's been funding Just Stop Oil, and also he's very, very keen to show his feminist credentials because he owns a football team, and he had just hired the first female manager
Okay.
of a football team. But there was a slight problem, which he only made her the caretaker. And I saw a potential flaw here. So let's see what went down when I interviewed him. You didn't think by appointing the first female caretaker manager of a professional men's team you would get any attention?
She's the best candidate for the job at the club. This is what happens. You look at within the club, you find your best coach, and you say, take the team in an interim period while we do a proper recruitment process. That's all that's happening here. Why do you keep coming back to that?
Because she's only a caretaker.
Our record of appointments.
She's only a caretaker.
Look at our record of appointments.
So if you believed in that much, you'd have made her manager. You've got all the publicity, but actually she's not got the full
That's
job.
not how it works.
And I suspect what's going to happen is you're going to go and find.
Understood football.
You're going to probably go and find a bloke to replace her, and then you're going to have to deal with that.
I thought you understood football, Piss.
I do. I'm an Arsenal fan. Well, you might be massively unsurprised to learn that 12 days later, Hannah Dinkley has been removed from her job as caretaker manager and replaced by a man. Yeah, Dale talked a good game on feminism and women's rights, and boasted about it and got all the publicity, and in the end, he got rid of her after 12 days and put a bloke in charge. And you can make your own view about Mr. Vince for doing that. Lovely to see you both. Thank you both very much indeed.
Well, like, I kind of want to know why. I kind of want to know why. What happened? Like, was she a bad worker? I mean, it could have been any reason. It didn't have to necessarily be sexism, but, you know, she could have been a bad worker. But is there something sexist about that league or some shit? I don't know. That was interesting, though. Hey, shout out Pearly Pearl. If listen, if y'all like Pearl, we'll do more Pearls. You know, I'm about to start going to, like, some music reactions, but so scared of the music reactions. But, hey, y'all tell me what y'all want in the comments. Anyways, I'm out. Peace.